last time at 4 o'clock. And if you're new to this meeting today, I'm Dr. John Byron. I am the Dean of the Seminary. And we want to welcome you to orientation this evening. Again, we recognize that everybody is having long days and Zoom meetings are a big part of everything that we do. So our intent this evening is to be able to deliver to you some important information just to help guide you through your time here in seminary, particularly as you're beginning, and then answer any questions. So hopefully we won't keep you too long, but on the other hand, this is an opportunity if you need to know anything or any questions you have, we'll want to take the opportunity to be able to answer those tonight. So why don't we just open up with a word of prayer and then we'll get going. So Lord, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for just who you are and the grace and the mercy that you have shown to all of us and to our nation, Lord, and even to just to us as individuals, Father. We thank you for your ongoing grace to us. We thank you for our love. I thank you for all of these people here, Lord, as they embark on the new journey in their life of seminary, as become counselors or pastors, ministers, whatever you've called them to, Lord. We just pray, Father, that tonight, in the beginning of classes in another week, would just be the beginning of a new time in their life where you speak to them in ways that you never have before. Pray that you bless our evening and our time tonight. In your son's name I pray. Amen. I'm going to share my screen with you and just want to start off partly just talking a little bit about the seminary, and then I'm going to pass it off. Let me, before I do that, I probably should introduce those who are on the screen with me. Donna Johnson, who is the Dean's Assistant at the office. You will probably get communications from Donna from time to time. Donna, if you want to wave everybody so they can see who you are. So it's Donna. She is the one that keeps this place running. Then also we have on tonight Laura Bedox, who is our registrar, who has also got a variety of guitars behind her. So she'll be the easy one to identify this evening. Laura is our registrar. And then lastly, Daniel O'Brien. Daniel is our librarian here at Ashland Theological Seminary. And he'll also be our stand-in tonight to give you a quick overview of things you need to know about technology. So with that in mind, let me just get started and just kind of go over a few things from my perspective. And then I'll pass it on, after I take some questions, I'll pass on to Laura. Well, obviously you already knew who I am, so I guess that's redundant, but yeah, in case you missed it, I'm John Byron and I'm the Dean of the Seminary. But I want to start off this evening I want to start off with an image that those that have been with me over the last year will know what I'm talking about. But I think the fact is, many of us would agree, nothing prepared us for this year. 2020 sounded really cool. Wow, 2020. How many things can we make up about 2020? You know, we're getting our 2020 vision this year, looking back at 2020 hindsight. And then this whole episode has just made us feel like, in many ways, like our ships or our boat really has been grounded. And yeah, a lot of us would have to say nothing prepared us for this. I can promise you that if you look through our catalog, there is not a course at Ashland Theological Seminary on how to pastor during a pandemic. Although that might not be a bad idea after this year, I agree. But in reality, that image that you're seeing on your screen is not intended to convey the idea of us being stranded, or if you will, high and dry. Rather, it's from a book that I was reading this year that uses the Lewis and Clark expedition as a metaphor. And the metaphor there is that when Lewis and Clark were on their way to the Pacific Ocean, they fully expected that they could just canoe their way up the Missouri River. When they found the source of the Missouri, all they had to do was carry their canoes right over the top of the hill, put their canoes in the Columbia River and paddle their way to the Pacific Ocean. This is in spite of the fact that numerous Native Americans along the way told them that was not possible, but they thought they knew better. And when they actually did find the source of the Missouri, what they discovered was actually a waterfall. In fact, 5 waterfalls they had to cross, and then something that we, of course, now know as the Great Rocky Mountains. And the whole point is the world behind them looked nothing like the world in front of them. They had to change up everything that they thought they knew and learned, and they had to abandon the old ways of doing things in order to move forward. They never lost sight of what their mission was, where they were going, but they knew they had to change the way they were doing things. And I suspect for many of us this year, and the last 6 months, we've had to abandon our canoes. We've had to abandon old skills and habits that used to get us through life. And we're actually finding new ways to push forward. And it's been a time like that for us at Ashland Theological Seminary as well. We are moving forward. We're ready to bring you in, to help you to discover the call that God has on your life, to help you to get the education and the equipping that you need. But we also recognize that every day we have to abandon the old way of thinking and maybe even our canoes and move forward. Over the summer, and in fact, for a good part of my life, the Psalms have been a really important part of my morning meditation. And a few weeks ago, I was meditating on Psalm 146, and I was struck by the way that the words in this psalm were new to me. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And I remember sitting on my front porch in the morning. I like to drink my coffee there, listen to the birds, and I remember sitting there thinking, yeah, these words have got new meaning to me. They're not just something simply that I put on a bookmark anymore. And so I was reminded that though I fear, right, I will not fear. Look at this. Though the earth should change, the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. The psalmist is going through and describes the chaos of creation that he is experiencing. And it's really easy for us to identify with that. And we're reminded that God is our refuge and strength. But what really jumped out to me in particular was verse 10. Because in verse 10, out of 11 verses in this psalm, suddenly God himself is interjected into this psalm, as if to remind the psalmist, even though he's looking around and he's seeing all of the various things that are going on around him and the anxiety and the fear that is rising up, nonetheless, God interjects and says, "Be still and know that I am God." That phrase there, "be still," actually can even mean simply relax, be quiet, calm down. And during this last few months, I know many of us had to remind ourselves of that, and we will as well going into the future. But I want to assure you that we've been praying for you prior to your enrollment. We're continuing to pray for you, and we're here to be with you as you experience God's presence, as you go through whatever program it is that you're enrolled in. And we want to remind you that God is here telling all of us, be still and know I'm God. God is God and we are not. With that in mind, then, I have the pleasure to introduce to you, if you've not already been noted, which is our core values. And the reason why we start off the way we do with even a student orientation with a prayer and with a scripture reading is because at Ashland Theological Seminary, our core values all emanate out of those very things: scripture, spiritual formation, community. The fact that we just didn't send you a printed set of instructions about your time here in seminary, but that we're taking this time out, even via Zoom, to be on here with you, is reflective of our commitment to community with you and with one another. And then academic excellence. Those are our core values here. You will find that no matter what class you're in, it's not uncommon at all. In fact, it's probably more the norm than not that we will open up with a scripture reading, a prayer. Although we won't be sharing snacks in class this year, a common occurrence at seminary, but we will still be able to learn to make a community in new ways. And academic excellence. We do uphold ourselves as having an intellectually rigorous program, so we will set the bar high for you. I don't say that to frighten you, to discourage you, but to let you know that we're here to help you become equipped for the person that God has called you to be. And we're going to be part of God's plan to help stretch you a little bit. So those are our core values. You'll be seeing them more. You'll hear about them more while we're here. And I hope that you as a student of the seminary will embrace those. It's also my responsibility, unfortunately in some ways, to talk about the fact, in case you haven't noticed, we're all experiencing a pandemic right now. And so with that in mind, we have some things that we just need to talk about. Some of this, if you've been receiving my emails over the summer, you've already seen. But let me just remind you, because of the pandemic, COVID-19, we feel it's best to protect our students and the staff by limiting presence. So if you are enrolled in a face-to-face class this semester, those classes will then be meeting alternately. What it means is that 1 week you will be in class face-to-face, and then the next week you'll be doing it remotely through Zoom. This allows us to provide 2 weeks space between contact between professors and students. Let me acknowledge right now, anything can happen during that time. We recognize that, but at this point, we believe this is probably the best mitigation that we could put in place for contact. In all cases, however, you should be checking your syllabi that you get for your various courses, and as well as with your professor in case there are any variations. But I can tell you, seminary-wide, we will be following this every other week rotation as we move throughout the semester. If you haven't received it already, you will see it on your syllabi. This is basically what the schedule will look like. The first week of classes, you will be on campus. The second went online. You'll notice that although this goes through the whole year, that after the November, that is the Thanksgiving break, there's only one more on-campus class. We're doing that because if for some reason we decide we need to go fully remote, then we'll have already accomplished as many of the in-person classes as we can as possible. The idea behind this schedule and this rotation is that if we do need to go fully remote, then we already have the habits and the rhythms in place. I will tell you this, the faculty are well prepared for this. And last year, when, like the rest of the world, we suddenly found ourselves moving from an in-person experience to face-to-face, the students at Ashland Theological Seminary did not miss 1 minute of class time. We were able to pivot in less than a week, and not 1 minute of class time was missed. We believe now that we have in place, because we're prepared, unlike in the spring, we believe we have in place what it is you need to be able to complete your program successfully while reducing risk. You will be sent an email within the next week that we're going to be asking you to read, acknowledge, and that you will adhere to all university and seminary safety protocols. They are just simply some of the things that have already become habit for us. All faculty and staff and students, when we are on campus, whatever campus you're on, you will need to wear a mask. We recognize that there are debates out there over whether the veracity of a mask towards this virus or not. We are choosing not to enter those debates, but for everybody's safety, as well as what we consider to be love of neighbor, doing it for others, everybody will wear their mask. We have appropriately separated desks and social distancing. We have hand sanitizer. We've added dispensers in all buildings. All restrooms will be cleaned twice a day. We are asking you to self-monitor your temperature and your own health conditions. This is just something all of us are doing. We will not be checking your temperature when you come in. However, if somebody did feel ill or something was questionable, we will have no-touch thermometers that we can check you if need be. If you or someone that you live with has become exposed to COVID-19 or you suspect that's the case, we please ask that you do not come to class that week, meaning if it's an in-person class. If you or someone, I guess I repeated that, but if you or someone you live with is unwell, please do not come. But I can tell you that we have invested in equipping all of our classrooms with cameras and microphones, allowing for remote access. If you are unable to attend the class that week, then you can actually link in via Zoom and you'll be able to watch the class live. If you are unable to attend a class because you need a medical accommodation, you need to request that through accessibility services. We sent this email out earlier, but again, in case you didn't receive it or you have any questions, if it's a medical accommodation, that is, you have a doctor documented restriction due to your health that will prevent you from being in class in person, or you can't wear a mask, then you please need to contact Sylvia Henris at Accessibility Services. She will then take your documented excuse and then we will file it here and we will pass that on to the professor. If, however, you don't have a medical excuse, but you need an exemption from the class because you are living with somebody that's at risk, your job is high category, you have a high level of discomfort, then you need to just simply fill out the exemption form to send it to Donna Johnson so that we can take care of that. People have asked, why do we need these forms actually filled out? We do this for a number of reasons. First of all, our accrediting body requires it of us. We need to be able to demonstrate where our students are during the semester, as well as financial aid and the Department of Education. As I said, though, it's our intention to have every person in class available for remote attendance this year. There should be no reason why we're not able to make sure that you are able to participate in all your classes, whether in person or via video link. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a minute. We're going to introduce Laura in just a moment, but let's stop and just take some questions. Let me pause by saying I recognize how much everything I just went over just kind of adds a bit of a heavy moment to orientation. This is not normally how we do our orientation, but we also know this is the world we live in, so we wanted to make sure that you are aware of what we're doing in order to keep you safe and healthy. So, any questions? Are we using the chat feature, Donna? Okay, yeah, please type your question in chat, sorry. I told you she's the one that runs this place.
Yeah, send your chat to me.
While we're waiting, show of hands. How many people are tired of COVID-19? How many people are tired of Zoom? Yes, double hands from one, okay. Yeah. Let me, again, as we're waiting, if there's any questions, let me just say, you know, we're watching everything. Your health and safety is of our utmost concern. We have accommodation forms, we have exemption forms, we have all the classrooms outfitted with the equipment we need. So while we're all learning to pivot and do things differently this year, I believe that we're positioned to help you be able to do what it is God called you to do this year. So.
I have a question.
Okay.
Student asked, does online classes affect the GI Bill and its benefits? Or is this a question for Randy Spade?
Laura, I don't believe that it does impact them, does it?
Not to my knowledge. I think they have made accommodations for this.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But we should, you probably should check with Randy Spade just to make sure. Incidentally, if anybody is online tonight and you are a United Methodist student, the question that was just asked would also go along that line. United Methodist students are typically not allowed to take online courses here. That's the church's decision. However, the United Methodist Church has given us clearance through December. If you're a United Methodist student, you can take online courses at Ashland Theological Seminary. And I suspect they will push it through till spring. Let's just say they keep giving us new emails extending the date out. So, but if you are a United Methodist student, I just want to let you know you can take classes online this semester.
I have another question.
Yes.
If we are unwell one week and we have to watch remotely, do we have to email the professor to avoid being marked absent? How does that work?
In general, the principle is always to keep the line of communication open with your professor. If you were scheduled to be in person, for instance, those of you that are in the Columbus cohort where we're going to rotate you out, if you're ill, you can't be there, just let your professor know. She or he will be able to see you on the Zoom, and that counts as attendance.
Okay, another question. Will any decisions made by AU as a whole related to COVID-19 also apply to the seminary?
In general, yes. What I mean is we're following all the safety protocols. The document that I told you it's going to be going out talking about acknowledging and hearing. I can tell you that even on our town hall today, a question came up. We're all seeing what's going on at University of North Carolina. This evening I saw Notre Dame. Ashland University, because we have campuses in multiple places, there could be a chance because of the undergrad at the university, they may make a change, but we're not a residential campus. We don't have a cafeteria. We're commuting. We're only coming in for a few hours or half a day at a time. So we don't have the same limitations they do. So if you ever have any questions and the university has announced something and you're not sure, please just contact your professor and we will let you know what we're doing. But that's a good question, yeah.
Okay, I have more questions.
Mm-hmm.
Will protocols be reassessed and be fluid to change as the semester and year goes on?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll just give you an example. The CDC last week suddenly reversed itself on face shields. Said that, you have to still wear a face mask, which meant that our Hebrew professor suddenly, after he just bought a face mask, a face shield, is now doing something different. But what we actually did is we installed a big piece of plexiglass in front of his podium. That, I guess, is allowed. So yeah, that's just an example of something that we've changed and communicated just within the last few days.
Okay. My class is supposed to begin on September 1st at the Columbus location. However, today I found out that I will be in the B group, which will be on campus on September 8th.
Right.
So does this mean I begin on September 1st online or wait until September 8th for in-person?
You will be online on September 1st. Yes, unfortunately, if you're in the B group, that means that that on September 1st, you'll start off like this on Zoom. Then on September 8th, you will be in person in that classroom. Let me just say this for everybody's clarity. We are following the every other week. The only exception slightly is the Columbus counseling cohort, although you will follow the every other week because of the size of the class. The professors will be in the classroom every week, but with a different group of people, still allowing for the 2 weeks between.
Okay. More questions. If you have an exemption and your situation changes, can you then come to class in person? What is the process to make that happen?
I would say that you need to contact Donna Johnson again, who you initially put the exemption through, explain why your situation has changed. So for instance, maybe you were living with elderly parents or grandparents that were high risk, and that situation has changed. Therefore, you don't have to be as concerned. Just simply let us know that, and we can actually, we can make that change for you, yes.
Next question. Specifically, we in Columbus are at 25% of regular in-person class time. Could this be reassessed as the situation in the country changes?
If it's reassessed and as the situation in the country changes, yes, but it would probably not happen in this semester. I think the reality that all of us are seeing is we need time, as we've been hearing, to flatten the curve. And so we'll continue to do that for now. Let me just say the plan that we went forward with by going with this rotation of in-person was an attempt to try and adjust what we all had to get thrown into last spring when, as I said, we literally, within 6 days, moved to fully online Zoom, which ended up being sometimes 6 and 8 hours of this. So we're adjusting to recognize that there is Zoom fatigue for everybody involved. But yes, at the moment, the plan that we have in place is here for this semester.
Next question. If a person is exempt from in-person class, will his or her attendance be dependent being present on the Zoom remote link?
Yes, you have to be present on Zoom to be there. I don't know. I mean, if it's an online class that's coded DLS, obviously that's different. But if it's this kind of a class where the professor sees you, then we know that you're present. So.
A couple of logistical questions. One, if we are commuting to the Ashland campus, do we need a parking permit?
No. The university has those. You won't have a problem getting parking here. So.
I am a student from Africa and wish to know my fate if I delay to join on time due to delay in processing travel documents.
Laura, can you answer that? You handle those.
Well, I think I actually expedited a package to you, and I think you're probably waiting on that in order to be able to secure your documents to get to the U.S. Dr. Byron, I'm going to bounce this to you just to say this needs approval, but I would assume that we would say join online until you're able to be in person, correct?
I think that would be fine. In fact, if you have any questions, and I'm not sure who the person is, can somebody wave at me if this is the person that is coming to us from wherever in Africa?
I think you might be on the second page.
Oh, okay. Bishop, is that you? Bishop Baluma? Okay. Yeah, if you would send an email to Laura B. Docs, we'll look over what your class schedule is for the fall, and you can, we could suggest, even because of the way that we're doing this, this is the upside of all what we're doing. You can participate in live classes. I have to apologize for the time difference if it's an 8 a.m. class, but that'll be 2 o'clock for you, I believe, or maybe 3 o'clock, depending upon your time zone there. But we can get you in as long as we know you're going to be able to get here. So.
Yes, and we just need to stay in communication so that I can accurately report what's going on.
Other questions, Donna, about COVID?
Yes, there's one more, and this is question number 2 from the logistical questions.
Okay.
When will we know what specific classroom number we will be on campus for our in-person class?
Well, that's a good question. We don't normally email them out. We post them on the doors of the classroom.
Well,
if you're in the Columbus Center, then Dr. Glass will let you know which door you should go into. And we will make sure that we have somebody letting you know where to go that first day. Okay. And then if you're coming to the Ashland campus, in the Gerber Academic Building, when you come in there's only so many classrooms. Seminary is not as big as university, so the classroom will be listed on there. But having said that, Donna and or Laura, perhaps we could send out maybe next Friday a list of all the classrooms that we have. I know we already have those established, so we could just send it to all the students. That way, any anxiety or just getting used to, we can do that. Does that sound feasible?
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
There's one more question popped up.
Yeah.
Is the counseling cohort day still reduced to 4 hours? If yes, do we have online classes for the rest of the day?
It depends on well, if you're a first year, then you will have, I believe there's another class you could be taking later that evening. Dr. Glass, your program director, can advise you best as far as what the classes are, but yes, you will be doing portions of your class separately. So for instance, I remember when we met on a town hall earlier, Dr. Weatherby gave the example. sometimes in class you would watch a video in class and it'd be a class discussion. Instead of actually watching that in class, you actually will be able to watch that maybe on your own time, and then you'll be able to interact in a discussion board format. So again, in all cases, check your syllabus with your professor if there's any variations. But yes, the classes are still 4 hours in order to kind of reduce the contact time. And again, let me just say this and then I'll pass it over to Laura. The reason is if for some reason, and just speaking honestly, because we're seeing this happen in other places in the country, Ohio is not a hot spot like other states are, but if we had to go fully remote, having a 4-hour day with other times for you to get the work done in different formats is going to be a lot easier on everybody than trying to sit in front of your camera for 6 and 8 hours a day. If you have any doubts, talk to last year's cohort. We did well, but it was grueling at times. So, all right, Laura, our registrar, I'm going to let you take over and do your portion.
Okay. Well, I will say welcome again, and thank you to Dr. Byron for introducing. As he said, my name is Laura Bedox, and I am the seminary registrar. I am also handle student accounts. So if you have questions about registration, about your bill, I can help you with any of those questions. And if I need to defer you to the business office, I will let you know that, or the financial aid department. I'm going to share my screen with you. Maybe. All right. You see that? All right. This is my email address. I monitor both of these email accounts, so I will answer you from either. Preferably if you have questions about registration, things like that, email the ATS registrar so that I can keep everything in one place. So I'm sharing some really bad photos that I ran to the seminary and took tonight just so that you were able to kind of see, since we don't have the opportunity to meet face-to-face. If you're coming to the Ashland campus and need to find my office or any of the other offices listed here, this is what you're going to see. The center of the campus, top left, we're facing the Sandberg building where my office is. The second picture at the top is walking into the lobby. Third picture is where Susan Eisenhower sits. And you see the little spots on the floor. That is what we are using for kind of our social distancing in the building. So try to observe that. I know sometimes we're so overwhelmed and we forget, but those are just kind of some visual markers. Susan handles our housing. So if you would have housing, this is where you would go. When you turn left, you're at the bottom left picture, looking down the hallway, and the next two photos are just walking down the hallway into my office. So you just come into Sandberg, hang a right at Susan's office, hang a left down the hall, and you're there. And you can see there's a little plexiglass screen set up here, and that's just for all of our safety and observing all of this. The other things that are housed in the Sandberg building are admissions. I'm sure that you are familiar with Renee Johnson. She's been in contact with all of you through the admissions process. She also handles our scholarships, and she is in this building as well. The counseling department is in this building. Just beyond Susan's area, there's a door into the counseling department. And then classrooms are to the left when you come into that lobby. So if you have a class in Sandberg, that's how you'll find that. Come into the lobby and turn left. All right, Web Advisor. Right now we use Web Advisor for a number of things. I'm gonna show you here, if I can get my screen. Sorry, I'm trying to drag my share screen thing out of the way. All right. So when you go to our website, this is what you're going to see, seminary.ashland.edu. Right at the top, you're going to see this web advisor link. And this is what it's going to look like when you click on it and you go into students. Right away, you say, I don't know my login information. So you can click here and it's going to ask you some questions and you should be able to identify your login information. I have sent out to most of you, I think I have 11 people yet that I need to send out packets that will show you your ashland.edu email address, and with your ID number that Renee would have shared, you should be able to log into everything you need. All right. Oops. Also, when you click down at the bottom, oops, that's exactly what I just showed you. Sorry about that. I actually just discovered this little thing. If you click on Contact Us down here, there's a whole quick list of the numbers that you might need. They're just the general numbers. My number is on here for ATS registrar. This is my phone number. The AU Registrar's Office, financial aid. So this is just a quick link. Once you get your login information, you're going to go to students. And here you see all of these options that you can access within Web Advisor. So you can change your password from here. You can see your financial aid award letter here. You can register here after you have completed a semester. I know you had to register in hard copy the first time, but from here on out, you should be able to register online and access the available sections. You can also get a grade report, an unofficial transcript, and so forth. So there's lots and lots of information contained within Web Advisor. You'll become familiar with that. So I'm just going to flip through here. It basically covers what I just said. You find grades, print an official grade report, unofficial transcript. You can check your student activity. I'll go back to that in a moment. Make payments and set up payment plan if you're interested in doing so, and register online. Let me touch on the payment piece here, so I know this is one that everybody's interested in. So I'm going to go back in here. Maybe. Okay. Under student financial information, view account and make a payment. When I click here, it's going to take you to this CashNet payment portal, and you're going to continue here. Within this CashNet system, you can see your information. I have zero balance, so it's not going to show us anything, but you can see here, there are activity details that'll show you if you've made a payment. Here's the payment plan information. Sorry, this takes just a second to load. But you can pull this up and it gives you the information. There is a $35 fee, and I think that's annually to set up your payment plan. You can set up to 5 payments over the course of the semester. And they've got tools here to help you do that. So these are all things that you can access, again, through Web Advisor. You can just make a payment through the system. And if you need a statement, you can access that here as well. So that's it for that. And this is basically just highlighting that little section at the bottom that I showed you. With regard to payment, payment is due by the first day of the semester. We're not going to come pull you out of class. We don't do that. But just be aware, you will not be able to register again if you have not paid your tuition for the current semester. You may make payment through CashNet, as I just shared. You can mail a check in, that's perfectly fine. Please note that any payment that you make with plastic, and I mean that includes a debit card, there's a 2.75% service fee. And I always ask students when they're going to pay by plastic, do you want me to do the math for you? Because the fee can be a little bit shocking depending on what your amount is. So if there's an alternate means of making payment, I encourage you to do that. Sometimes that is what we need to do. You can also make a payment by e-check. There is no fee for doing that. And if you call me, I can take those payments over the phone as well. And I just need your account number and routing number in order to do that. And I covered the rest of that. I mentioned Renee Johnson. I'm sure, again, that you have all been in contact with her. She does handle the ATS scholarship. So if you have questions about whether you've gotten an award or whether it's posted or anything like that, you can contact her at this email address or phone number. If you have not applied for scholarship, you can do that through our website. You can find the information. It's here under admissions, financial aid and scholarships. And there's all kinds of information on the types of scholarships. There is the scholarship application, and all of that information would be sent to Renee. VA benefits, we've already had a question about this, so obviously at least one person has been in contact with Randy Spade. Here is his contact information. The AU Veterans Office is going to assist you if you have benefits through the VA. So please be in contact with Randy, and he is on the ball. He's a great guy, and he'll be happy to work with you on this. Financial aid, we also partner with Ashland University's financial aid office for our seminary students. And here is the contact number for them. You can also email that gradfinaid@ashland.edu, and you will be assigned a financial aid counselor, but you can contact this main line and they can connect you with whomever you need to speak with. All right, and that is the end for me. I do want to emphasize, I know I just flew through a lot of information. I want to strongly encourage you to use your Ashland email account when communicating. Ashland email accounts are the only secure means by which we can communicate. If you give us an external email account, I am not going to send your student account statement to that because I don't know if it's secure. I don't know if you change information. So as long as you stay within the ashland.edu email account, we feel pretty secure with that. We have several levels of security. So I always want to say, I have students say to me, oh, I never checked that account. And I will say to you, well, shame on you. So please, 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 if you're missing information, you say, well, I never saw that. Check your Ashland email account because chances are that's where it's sitting. Okay. All right. Any questions?
There's a question. Is the password for Ashland email our student ID?
It is the first time you log in. Daniel's going to hit this again too. So we're going to cover some information more than once. But once you initially log in, you're going to change that password immediately. So it's not always going to be, and Daniel, you can correct me and shake your head now and say,
yeah, I actually I found a different process where they go to a website and put in their information and then it sends them a verification code. I'll go over it in a few minutes.
Good. So there's the answer to that question. Daniel knows everything.
I do not.
Other questions?
Yes. If I'm waiting for financial aid package to accept, when will it post so I know what I will need to come up with?
Okay. I actually just emailed the financial aid department today because I've had a lot of students saying my loans haven't posted yet. Loans post 10 days prior to the start of the semester. So the 21st is the date that I was given when student loans will post. So at that point, you should be able to, you may be able to see what's pending right now, or I can see it if you call me, but it will not post to your student account until the 21st. That's a good question. Others?
Yes. Okay, there's all coming in now. Also, if my job is paying a portion, they usually don't pay until after I finish the class. How can I add this once I get it?
I'm not sure I'm completely following the question. If you have tuition reimbursement through your employer, my husband did this. And what we ended up doing was we had a credit card that he would put his schooling on because he had to submit grades with us in order to get reimbursed. And once he had completed a course or the semester and got his grades, he would submit that to their HR office, and then they would reimburse and we would pay the card with that. If your employer pays directly, prior to the end of the semester, they can send a check in on your behalf and I can post that to your account during the semester. So hopefully that answers that question.
Another question. When is the financial promissory due and to whom should we send it to?
Okay, if you're talking about the statement of financial obligation, again, I'm not sure who asked that question. You raise your hand, maybe? I'm not seeing. Okay.
Rachel, I think is her name that asked that.
It's
Okay.
right down here.
All right. I'm scanning here.
Let me unmute her. She should be
Okay.
able to speak now.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, Rachel.
Me? My name's Maggie. I don't know why it comes
Maggie.
up as Rachel.
Oh.
Yeah, my
Oh,
name's
okay.
Maggie Brown. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maggie.
I was referring to that note that you talked about.
The statement of financial
Yeah, the
obligation.
statement, yeah,
Okay.
the application.
Thank you. That's a great question. I've gotten a couple questions about that already. I include that, the 11 letters that I was just referencing that I'm going to send out in the morning. We'll include this as well. That is basically for you to tell me how you intend to pay for the semester.
Right.
So if you've already set up payment plan or whatever, you just check that. You can scan and email it to me. Frankly, I get about 50% of those back. And I can go through and see, you know, if you've got aid pending or whatever, I can see all of that on my side.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That was a
Yeah,
good
thanks.
question.
Okay, I do have more questions here for you, Laura. Would I be able to fill out the scholarship form if I have already started making payments?
I always tell students, go, you know, the worst that they can say is no. So if you want to see if there is scholarship available, certainly by all means, submit a scholarship application. Those applications are typically due by May 15th each year. And then Renee sends out award letters by July 1st. So most of the monies have already been allocated. However, there are instances where a student doesn't come, you know, they're not able to make it for the semester, and then those monies kind of sit. And so Renee always tries to redistribute those funds as she has the opportunity to do so. So yeah, she doesn't know if you need it if you don't tell her. So I would say yes, submit a scholarship application. And that does need to be done annually. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. You need to do that by May 15th every year.
Okay, next question. Are there options for different types of loans, such as subsidized or unsubsidized?
Yes, and I will say, speak to the financial aid department about that. I will play dumb on this one if any of you others have information to weigh in. You can, I know that there are private loan opportunities. The seminary loans are unsubsidized. I think that's 100%. Is that correct, Dr. Byron? You're shaking your head?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, we don't have some of your financial aid on here, just,
Yeah.
but again, I would say, I think where you're hearing Laura and I both pausing is because we don't want to give you, these are some more technical questions that we don't want to give you incorrect information about. So please use that contact button that she showed you and ask financial aid
Yes.
for that, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Here's, this one was from Rachel. I guess it was regarding tuition reimbursement, and she applied for scholarships, but she hadn't heard back from them.
Okay, yeah, touch base with Renee. She can tell you where that stands.
Next question, how would we use financial aid to pay for textbooks?
If you request more than you need for tuition, and, you know, depending on your situation, you're able to do that. You can, I believe that whatever the overage is for your federal aid, the business office will send you the refund. You can contact the business office as well to request the refund, but I think that it is standard procedure for them now that they'll send that out within a couple weeks. But you can also use that overage to purchase textbooks and so forth.
Next question, after we receive our financial aid award letter, are there steps that we need to take to accept the full award?
And again, I'm going to defer to the financial aid office. That's one thing that I don't have anything to do with. When it comes to federal aid, the financial aid department knows their stuff, and they will let you know if there's anything else you need to do.
What about private scholarships? Are we able to use them?
You can. There are students who, I think we had a student this last semester who got a very generous private scholarship. And typically what will happen is that person or, you know, entity, whatever it is, will mail a check in on the student's behalf. If that is the case, please be sure that whomever issues the check includes your student ID number so that I'm able to connect it and post it to the correct account. If they just send a check into the seminary, a general check, it's going to go to the general scholarship fund, and I cannot post it specifically to one student's account. So, but I would assume they'll probably know what to do there.
Does ATS offer any assistantship or fellowship opportunities?
Dr. Byron?
No, I mean, we do have some student employment. I know, like, you know, for instance, sometimes in the counseling department, usually not for first-year students, but for second-year students, we do hire graduate assistants that assist the professors in the class. Daniel will sometimes hire people for the library, but there's not a lot of those kind of opportunities these days. I would note, by the way, I did put into the chat the link directly to the financial aid on Ashland University for graduate students specifically, which is what you all will be. So, and you can go right there, and they've got the phone numbers and who you need to call, just so that you're not having to search that someplace.
Thank you for that. I saw it pop up.
Yeah. Said, I asked a question about loans. I called my financial aid advisor about them, and he told me to call the registrar. Is that the right place to go?
For your loans, if it's about loans posting, then no, that would be the financial aid office. I can tell you whether they have posted. I can tell you what your balance is once they have posted. But if it has to do with specifics about financial aid, I'm going to send you to the financial aid office.
Last question. Can the private scholarships be combined with any scholarships given by Ashland?
I believe so. Again, their need is considered. I know that that is taken into consideration when scholarships are awarded. So depending on the size of a private scholarship, you know, if they're paying 100% of your tuition, chances are you're not going to get money from the seminary. Yeah. So it would depend on the size.
Yeah, and I would say I do remember an instance we had even this summer where Renee asked me, and in our practice there will obviously, if we have a private scholarship, then we will apply all of that to the student's account first. And then if they were given another scholarship from the seminary, we'll apply that because we're trying to make as much as that go around as we can. So.
Right. These are great questions. And I have to say, you guys have asked more questions than I think any orientation I have been a part of in the past. So this is great. And I know we're tired of Zoom, but it's exciting for me to be able to see your faces and your names because I've been dealing with these, you know, ethereal names for the last several months. So it's fun to kind of meet you here. Sorry, I'm weird.
No more questions, Laura.
Okay, thank you.
I think we're all longing for normalcy, and
Yes.
even though we're going to be going back in a different form for classes in the end of August, it's going to at least provide us something different than what we've been dealing with. So our next speaker is Daniel O'Brien, who is our digital librarian. He is not our IT specialist. However, he will be standing in tonight for our IT people.
I think Donna's next, actually.
Oh, sorry. You know what?
I know everybody's really excited to hear me speak, so it's a little bit longer.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. That's not working quite right, is it?
Yeah, you're on.
Is it?
Yeah, you were on. Yeah.
Okay, something I was just, okay. So I am Dr. Byron's assistant. I keep him busy.
Amen.
I'm going to show you some of the resources that you will need to know where to find them. We have on our website lots of resources for you. Just want to make sure that you can find these items. Academic catalog is online. Since you are new, since you may have already looked at it on there. Academic calendar, I will show you where that's at because that is one item that students are always looking for. Our course schedules and syllabi, many of you have already found that. If you've just newly been admitted, you may not be aware where to find those. I will show you that. Student handbook is also on the website. The writing handbook, you will want to become familiar with that and where to locate that. Clinical mental health counseling forms for counseling students, other registrar forms and documents. These are all items that you're going to need to have. I'll take you to the website to show you where you can find these items. Okay, is that showing on your screen?
Yep, there it is. Yep.
Okay, it went over to my other screen, so I moved it over. Okay, so on the seminary website, on the top black bar, you'll see this student resources. When you click on this, this will take you to where all those items are in one location for you to find. Commonly used resources, the catalog, the academic calendar is here. This will have all the dates of holidays, last day to add a course, add drop, when grades will be posted and so forth. So we'll have this fall term, the spring term, and the summer term. The student handbook, I would say if you have any questions about any policies or anything, use the student handbook as your first resource to go to. Writing handbook, this is also a good resource for you to have. It'll give you all the information you need. There's also a link here to Blackboard and course schedules, email, but here's all the registrar forms if you need to change a class, change your degree, register, everything you need, counseling forms and so forth. Another area to go is under services. When I click on that, this little box pops up. There's some other items. Some of this is redundant. Some of these are the same items that are in the student resources, but there's also a link here to the library, the university bookstore, the Student Accessibility Center. So check these items out. These are here for you. Just want to make sure you know where to go for them. Ashland University Bookstore, if you have not yet checked out how to access ordering your books online, I know most students do use other options like Amazon and so forth, but the Ashland University Bookstore, if you order your books and have them delivered, the delivery fee is $7.75, then $1 for each additional book. If you were just looking to see what books are needed for a class, you can go to the website I'll show you how, if you're not familiar with this, when you go to textbooks, go to reserve textbooks, either here or here. This is how you can find, it'll show is looking for fall. You can search by department. So say it's a biblical studies course and it's Dr. Overland's course there. If you click on that, and you can do several, you can look up several at a time. You click on view your materials, and this will show what required texts are for that course. But they also give you compare prices. They'll give you other options. If you use any of these, it'll take you outside the bookstore website, but they do give you some other options to check. Okay. Student ID cards. Somebody had messaged me that, are we going to need ID cards? Yes, typically during orientation, we would be taking your picture that very night. However, due to our health situation, they're allowing students to send in their own pictures to get their student ID cards. When you do that, number one, it has to be with a plain background. You can't have all sorts of stuff in the background. A plain wall, nothing, no pictures or anything in the back. It'll be what, from your chest up. They want just a nice headshot like that, not super close. When you take the picture, make sure it's in portrait, not landscape, because that makes it difficult for them to crop it and you'll get squashed and look weird. When you send your file, it does need to be in a JPEG file, and you will email it to Martha Penwell at ashland.edu, mpenwell@ashland.edu. When she receives those, she will print up your ID cards. Make sure that you're using your ashland.edu email to send your picture. So that's why they can identify you. And when the cards are done, they will mail them directly to your mailing address that we have on file. So if you are living at a different address than what we have on file, say if you've moved in from out of town and have not yet given an updated address, I suggest you make sure we have an updated address, because your ID card will get mailed to the wrong location. And your ID cards you will need to have for using the library. And if you're using other libraries, Daniel, tell me if I'm correct about this. If students are using library services outside of Ashland, like say in Columbus, their student ID card as well will identify them as being allowed to use their resources, right?
That's correct. Yeah, if you're using an Ohio Link library, then your student ID acts as your validation of being part of that consortium, which we're a member of.
Mm-hmm. And also for Columbus students, usually in the evenings, they lock the front or the side doors are not open. So if you're wanting to go enter the building through the side door, you'll need that ID card to swipe. The front door is only open during business hours. So for any reason, I think though this semester it may not be an issue because we're not having the evening classes as late, but for the cohorts, but if there's an evening class, you will need to have that swipe card to get into the Columbus building.
Two things I would say, first of all, just before Donna, is as much as we would love to see pictures of you on your ID card at your last holiday spot, yeah, please do a plain background. The other thing is, Donna, there was a question here about, can we send this information to them via email? But will we be posting the PowerPoints again this year on the website, or making this available later?
I am recording this right now, so this will be available. We will post the PowerPoint online. I also have some other information that I will send out to students.
So yeah, you'll be getting it, if not just the recorded part that's posted online, but we'll be sending this, we'll post the PowerPoints, and so that way, because we understand it's a lot to absorb, and you're going to be here for a couple of years, so
Yeah.
it'll be there for you.
And anytime you have any questions, just email us. That's fine. We like to be able to help the students, so that's what we're here for. I know I went through pretty quickly. Is there any questions? I don't see any popping up. So we can move to Daniel O'Brien, not the IT guy doing IT.
Not the IT guy doing IT, yes. I'm pulling some double duty tonight. And as an example here, actually, this is my photo that they took for my ID when I started last year. So if you need an example for what kind of headshot they might need, there you go. And as I go over the IT information, again, I'm not an IT guy. I'm going to do my best, but I'm going to show you some of the resources to get you started and used to things there. And then I'll cover library information as well. So to get to our main IT hub for Ashland University, you can jump right out to it from the main seminary website. So if you look up here under services, like Donna just showed you a few minutes ago, and go down to information technologies, this brings you to the links for IT resources. So you have their contact number here. And then if you jump right out to the AU IT website, they provide you with all of their information for their policies, different information on getting, cloud printing ready, printers, copiers, your password resets, which I'll talk about in a minute here, and just a lot of great information for getting you set up with information technology at the university. So this is kind of your first go-to resource, a hub of information from them. So if you are brand new, you've been registered, but you have not logged into your university email yet, there's a process for going through that and getting started. You can go to pass.it.ashland.edu, and you're going to see this screen where you can select new user or can't log in. You'll want to select new user. If you have an account already and you just can't log in, so this would be, for example, resetting your password, you would use that one. So getting your account going, after you click activate, you're going to see this reset your password screen below. So you'll put in your username. For example, it'll usually be your first initial and then your last name. Mine would be D. O'Brien, and then hit continue. And you're going to be provided an option to send a verification code to your personal email. This is so they can make sure you're actually who you say you are to get you set up with your account. So you're going to have them send that verification code to your email or your phone, and then hit continue. And you'll use that verification code that you get to log in and hit continue again. So you've confirmed that you're one of our students. And you're going to be provided with a password reset confirmation. So here's where you type in your new password and confirm your new password, following the guidelines of our password requirements listed here. Confirm you're not a robot, and then hit reset password. So after going through this process, you should be able to go back to your email, type in your newly set password, and have access to your university email account. For more information on password resets, there's also a link here to the password homepage. And this gives you a little bit more information on that self-service password. So if you do need to reset your password, there's a variety of ways to manage your recovery account options with instructions for each of those. Here are, again, the instructions that I just showed you for activating your account for the first time. And then if you need to find your username and password, there's instructions there for that as well. There's a listing here of everything that when you reset your university password, what it's used for. So that's for the network here at the university, it's for Blackboard Learn, it's for Gmail and all of your Google apps, the portal, Web Advisor. So everything that you need to access as a student is going to be tied to your Ashland University email and password. So like Laura said, use it often, use it frequently. That is your main lifeline to all of our IT stuff here. So Blackboard Learn is our learning management system. This is where you'll be going for all of your classes online. From the main website, right up here, there's in the black bar, a link to Blackboard Learn. And so this is where you're going to put in your university username and your password. Like I said, everything is connected to that email and password. And if you haven't used a learning management system before, this is what it looks like. You have your main page here, and then on the left-hand side, you have your navigation for all of the different options that you can select. If you go to courses, this is going to open up and list the courses that you're enrolled in. I'm only enrolled in the orientation. So once you open a course, you're going to have your information for that course. Now this is the Blackboard training course, which I believe students will all have access to when they enroll here. You have training videos. Your professors will load in syllabi. This is where you'll check your grades, your calendar. Again, this is the hub for your classes online. Logging into Blackboard and then selecting those courses will give you all of these options. As a student, the university provides you with a free copy of Microsoft Office. This is important for you to use for your citations and your footnotes, so you really need the full version of Office. To get that, you just go to http://office.com. Again, enter your university username and your password. You'll be taken to a download screen where you download all of that information and install it on your computer, and then you'll have access to the full version of Word for completing all of your papers and assignments. Once again, for your reference, when you get this presentation after we're finished tonight, here are all of the relevant links for IT. Again, because I'm not the IT guy, if you're having issues, if you have questions, there's a phone number here for you to reach. If you need to submit a ticket online, you can go to kbox.it.ashland.edu, and that is a way for you to submit a ticket to them to open up a case to work on any technology problems or issues that you might be experiencing. And then all of our other links for what I just covered are right here as well. So that brings me into my wheelhouse, the library here. If you are on campus, if you haven't been to campus yet, if you walk in the back doors of the administration building, you're greeted by the library itself. So straight ahead is the library office, my home away from home. You can see there's two little dot markers on the ground to indicate our social distancing. And then our collection is split into two separate rooms. So if you head off to the left, you're going to be getting into sections for practical theology. The counseling resources are over there, and everything dealing with kind of, if you're familiar with Library of Congress, BT through Z is over there. And then if you head off to the right-hand side, and actually these are flipped because I realized I'm sitting in my office thinking about these the opposite way. So facing the library, if you head off to the right, that is practical theology, counseling, those sorts of things. And then if you head off to the left, that is our reference section. And then upstairs are all the commentaries for biblical studies. We are opening up the library when classes begin on August 31st. We've been closed throughout the summer, but we're opening up for people coming back. And we're enacting some guidelines like everyone else is for social distancing. So you must wear masks and social distance 6 feet apart. You'll notice some of our chairs have been put up and some of them have moved out to encourage proper spacing for our study spaces. Some of the group rooms are now going to be single user rooms. We ask that after you finish using a space, wipe it down with a sanitizing wipe. The same goes for the copiers and for the computers. We've provided sanitizing wipes and hand sanitizer throughout the library in several different stations, so you'll be able to grab what you need and sanitize your section when you're finished. We ask that you, if you've pulled a book off the shelf, you're looking at it and maybe you don't want to check it out, we ask that you set it on one of our unwanted items tables. The library guidelines throughout the pandemic have shown that quarantine items for 3 days will allow a chance for any sort of virus to die off. And so we're just following that guideline to quarantine anything that either comes back as a return or that somebody has touched in order to just be safe and follow that. Additionally, if you're using items from the reference section, because those have a quick turnover rate for when you're using things, we're setting out a container of disposable gloves as an option. If you would like to use those will be available, so you can rest assured as you browse through reference materials. Additionally, throughout the summer, I've been doing contactless pickup with people. If you don't feel like you're able to come into the space, if you would prefer a contactless pickup option of materials, you can contact me through email and I will work with you to get you those print materials and to arrange a time for you to come pick those up. We also have a great collection of digital resources if you're online and to supplement a lot of the work you'll be doing. And so your main portal to that is through our Seminary LibGuide website. And I'm going to take you on a brief tour of this to get you acquainted with some of our resources and go-tos. So this is also available under that services tab, just like everything that we've been showing you for IT and things like that. When you open up to the main page, our hours and announcements are going to be here in a slideshow, and directly below that, this is your first go-to area under quick links and most used resources. So the top section here under quick links, you can check your library account to see the status of items you have checked out. You can click on this to get to our library catalog to perform searches for print items by title, author, subject, and see what's available for you here. We have a link to the database list, as well as several links to OhioLink to search for items that you can request in. Links to interlibrary loan, which will help us acquire items for you that we might not own, but we'll search a broader range of resources than just OhioLink, which is limited to Ohio. And then a link to the Michigan e-library if you're a student up in Michigan. It functions like OhioLink, and that a collection of libraries across the state have pooled their resources together to allow reciprocal borrowing and access to everything that they own as a system. For online work, the second half of this box under most used resources are like the go-to resources that I direct our students to when they begin research in their particular areas. So this first one here, the IVP Bible dictionaries, are all electronic Bible dictionaries. I know if you're in a class with Dr. Overland, he's going to direct you straight to these for some of your reference and resources. They're a link right there on our front page. If you're looking for commentaries online, I've searched through our ebook collections and pulled things together into one space for you. So instead of digging through a lot of the different ebook websites and databases that we have, if you're looking for commentary specifically, you can come here and then search by Old Testament, New Testament, and then it's organized by book of the Bible after that. And so with your university username and password, even if you're not at the school, you can click on a book, click into PDF full text, and have access to the entire commentary online. If you're in the counseling program, APA Psych Info right here is the first resource that I would direct you to as you begin your research for articles and things for those programs. And then Academic Search Complete also will help supplement some of the searching that you do for clinical mental health and counseling resources. And then the Christian Periodical Index and Electronic Journal Center and Ministry Matters are also useful resources for practical theology, biblical studies students. So past these main first use resources, there are also some navigation tabs up here on the top left for digging a little bit deeper and for some extra information. So if you click into one of these, for example, if I go into biblical studies, I'm going to be directed to a new page that has some extended resources for those programs. So if I go into journals, periodicals here, I still listed the main database that would be provided to you on that front page, but there's some extra as well here as well. So Directory of Open Access Journals, JSTOR, you can find other databases to search if you've looked through one on the front page and you want to do more searching. Here are some more recommended resources for you in these sections. Clinical mental health counseling is set up similarly, and that there are deeper resources here. If I click on databases, there's a longer list of databases than I have for you on the front, but the front list of databases is kind of like the go-to to start, and then as you dig deeper, you look for more things, you can look into these tabs. We also have links here for our ATS library policies, links for instructional videos. So as you get into using the databases, if you would like a quick tutorial on how to begin basic searches in those databases, looking here under instructional videos and scrolling through will give you some highlights and some places to get started. If you are located in one of our other geographic areas, if you click on the geographically specific resources, there are lists here for some of those libraries that you have access to using OhioLink. So if you're in Cleveland, if you're in Columbus, I've listed out here some of the libraries that are near you. And then if you have your AUID with you handy, you can visit them and use OhioLink's consortium lending opportunities to check out books from those places as well. Similarly, if you're up in Michigan, around Detroit, the Detroit area, there's some listings here for how to borrow from Wayne State University libraries, and then other seminaries and public library resources in your area to supplement maybe some of the print, the physical things you might be looking for as well. One last thing, I've been developing online reading rooms for different sections. So for example, if you look in chaplaincy here, we're going to be providing some starter resources related to different topics. So if I click on hospice chaplaincy, you can see there's articles, ebooks, and some media for that. And the goal is to, in the future, tackle this for each of our programs of study. I've been working on the clinical mental health counseling one over the summer. Hopefully it will be live at some point this fall. And lastly, I know that we seem to be repeating this, we're throwing a lot of information at you tonight. And so if you take anything away from this, know that my contact information is right here on the main page of the library. My email address and my phone number are right there. As you begin digging into researching things, if you have questions, if you need assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out to me, give me a call, send me an email. I'm here to be a resource for you guys. So are there any questions about those items? I can't guarantee I can answer some of the IT stuff, but the library stuff, I'd be happy to answer questions on.
I do not see any questions coming through.
Okay. Oh, it
Sorry
looks like
about
I have one here. I saw a link for digital books. Will this be a continual option? And if yes, how do we pay for the digital books? Also, I rented a book before I saw the digital option. Should I send my hard copy back? So from the library page, any of the ebooks that you see, those are licensed through our ebook databases, and those are pretty constant. Those don't go away too frequently. They're not like in and out. So you should have access to those as long as we have access to the database, which we do. You rented a book before you saw the digital option. I would, depending on the licensing for that digital option, if it is a one-person use at a time digital book, you can go back into the library site and check it. I might hold on to your hard copy because if only one person can use the digital book at a time, then you might be happy that you held on to that hard copy. Most of our ebooks we try to purchase and get for unlimited users. However, with the way some of the licensing works through some of the companies, they put different restrictions on them. So we try as often as we can to get unlimited user access for our ebooks, but occasionally you will find one where there might be only one user can use it at a time.
All right. Well, thank you, Daniel. Not the IT guy.
Not yet.
So he's our librarian. He's just doing a stand-in. How many people are tired and had enough? That's all right. You can be honest. It's a seminary. We don't tell lies here. So, well, at least in theory, right? Unfortunately, I've got one more thing to do, and I just want to point out that I end up having to do all of the heavy things in this orientation. I had to talk about COVID-19, and before we finish off and take any more questions tonight, I just need to touch briefly on our Title IX policy here at the university. Conflict is not something that we hope that you encounter here, particularly as it relates to Title IX. Title IX, if you're not familiar with it, is the comprehensive federal law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex for federally funded education programs. We do receive federal funds as part of Ashland University and here at the seminary. Therefore, the seminary does fall underneath these guidelines, which includes harassment, discrimination, and any kind of regulatory guidance or any court interpretations that may apply and actually force us to change our policy. The university will follow that, and we will make those adjustments if and when those policies do change. This policy of no discrimination and no harassment applies to all members of the university and seminary community, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identity, including international undocumented persons, faculty, students, staff, all employees. Nobody gets a pass on this. As well, it applies to guests, contractors, or third parties that are actually on the university property. So if we hire an outside contractor and somebody with that firm ends up breaching our Title IX policy, they say something inappropriate, they are harassing somebody, that policy then applies, even though that person is not an employee of the university or a student. Examples of these: sexual harassment, non-consensual sexual contact, non-consensual sexual intercourse, sexual exploitation, stalking, dating violence, domestic violence, and any type of retaliation in response to, in conjunction with these offenses. If you are, you believe, a victim of sexual harassment here at Ashland Theological Seminary, or you witness it, two things: please report it to us immediately. We do not want this environment to be part of our seminary experience. Secondly, please understand that if you do report such an incident to us or something that you witness, we are then obligated to follow through internally to investigate and to make sure that the person or persons that you have told us about are safe and that we don't need to somehow intervene. Again, this is a rather heavy thing to end on, but in our day and age, it is important that we make clear that we do not allow any form of sexual harassment at all at the seminary. So,
And Dr. Byron, when you say report it to us, you mean?
To the dean's office here, yes. And then we will pass it on to the university authorities, who we have a whole process for going through this. So, and reporting this. So this has been a lot of information. I can see some of you rubbing your eyes. I know some of you are on from 4 o'clock with Dr. Glass. So we don't want to take a lot more of your time. We recognize we threw a lot of information at you tonight. Donna will be posting the recording and the PowerPoint slides on the website under admissions, under orientation. Is that correct, Donna? Okay. So the information that we've shared tonight, hopefully it's been helpful to you, but again, if you're going to be here for a couple of years, you may need to begin at another point. Any questions before we let you go this evening? No, everybody says, please let us go. First day of class and we already want to be dismissed. I get it.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. Yep, somebody ruined it for you, folks. You were this close.
If you report something, will your name be confidential when investigating this situation?
Yes, we will keep it confidential unless, of course, you know, if it reaches a legal, if it's outside of our control, if legal authorities get involved, then the authorities may speak to you. But yes, we keep these things confidential. All right, let me just say again, we are glad you're here. We recognize that starting a new graduate program in the midst of a pandemic, in a very uncertain world, as I said, none of us were prepared for this. I do believe, however, that we as an institution are as prepared as we can be in order to welcome you, to help equip you and get you through your program. We really do appreciate not just you being here this evening, but just you following God's call on your life here with us at the seminary. Again, I will be trying to get into as many classes as I can this semester and get a chance to meet you personally. And I hope to be able to get a chance to at least know you just a little bit, if not even on a greater level over the next couple of years in your degree. Let me just say something again about the other staff and administrators on this call, Donna, Daniel, Laura, and anybody else at Ashland Theological Seminary. We are a relational community and that we will be here for you. And we also just want to be able to get to know you, not just simply as students, but as brothers and sisters in Christ. My assistant is reminding me to tell you something. Oh, okay. I guess we could tell them that. Since you were all very cooperative this evening and you actually showed up, although I can't say you had to be here to win, we did send out a Ashland University chocolate chip cookie to all registered students. I can tell you that Donna and others today packed up 182 cookies, and we're buying another 50 because we've got more to do. So they're nice, big, round chocolate chip cookies. And if you've ever stayed at one of the Ohio State parks in the last decade, Ashland University actually bakes those big cookies for Ohio State parks. So, yep, this is our way just to say that we are grateful that we're here, that you're here, that we're all here, yes. And we just want to show our appreciation to you. And it's just a small way to express it to you during these very different times. So thank you, everybody. Again, we look forward to talking with you. Thanks for your cooperation tonight. Have a blessed semester.
Thank you.
I don't know.